It's important to know a little bit about perspective. I'm going to try to simplify it, keep it easy because we're not going to get too intense with this. But what I've got is a piece of paper with a line drawn across it. This is not my friend. There's not a lot of straight lines in nature, and I don't like using a ruler. So automatically, I tend to put it out of the picture. In perspective, we have to work with straight lines to make sense of this. Not to confuse you, but to put things right. Remember that 1 point perspective has 2 rules. Anything that is in this direction, going left to right, has to be parallel to that center or horizon line. So if I want to draw a box in this scenario, I might choose my bottom line to be here, but rather than using a ruler, I'll just make a mark on a piece of paper and take that over to the other side. And now I know that distance to that distance is the same. I can use a ruler or a straight edge if I want. And to keep it clean for once in this workshop, I'll actually use a ruler. Now, to get an angle correct is guesswork in this case, because I'm not bringing protractors and rulers are all I have. I want to have a straight line. And the second rule is that this vertical has to be perpendicular or 90 degrees to the horizon. So every time I do a straight line, or it's called a vertical line, it's going to be at 90 degrees to the horizon line. And any horizontal lines are going to be parallel to the horizon. So in this scenario, I'm going to have us do a cube. And to keep things simple, I can either take a mark from here to here, or wherever I envision that being, and transfer those same marks to the other side of the picture. I'm just trying to get you to see some of the things that you might see where you're sitting right now, the room you're in. And what I plan to do in this room is have, I'll do this here again so you can see it, is I'll take a distance, and from that line I'll just mark that same spot. So we know we're relatively square with this. Again, I'm not being exact with it because it's not that important. Keep in mind that we're supposed to have these lines perpendicular, so if I erase this, it's one less confusing thing on the paper. Imagine you're sitting in a room. In 1 point perspective, it implies that there's 1 point on this horizon line. And this point is called a vanishing point. And rather than writing it all out, I'll just put VP. Okay? From that vanishing point, any lines coming into the picture emerge. So if there's diagonals, they'll run to that vanishing point. You could do that for the top of this too. Sometimes it gets so confusing with these lines that it's better to use a different colored pencil, but in this case I'll keep it simple and I'll use a lot of erasing just so you understand where we are. At some point I might choose to put another line, and again we know the rule, so we'll keep that in mind, that we're basically trying to keep this perpendicular 90 degrees to the horizon line. Once I've started one side, and if everything works out well with the freehand approach I'm taking, then this line here should do the same, be parallel to the horizon, and so would the one underneath. And where they meet up, if I was accurate, should fall to a point where they coincide with each other. If I can ask you to trust me that I'm not changing much, except I'm going to erase these lines or break them up a little bit. So it's a trick actually, if you ever want to change something, don't completely erase your lines, just take a little bit less strength out of them or make them a little less strong by weakening them with the eraser. Not to get rid of them because we might rely on them in the future, but I want to make this area the important part. So what I'm asking you to imagine in this situation is that we're walking into a room and there's a doorway right here. If you look around you, you know that the room you walked into had a door, and you didn't have to duck down to get through that door unless you're a tall person, so there are exceptions to every rule there are. But this doorway has to be higher than the horizon line, and your eye level is usually on the horizon line, so I'm giving the door some height above it. Okay? I'm going to take a line from that center vanishing point and cross those 2 previously made vertical lines. Now I've, in a sense, created a doorway. And to keep this going a little further, I'm going to erase that horizon line, which we could see through the door, but might be confusing, as would all these other lines, but I need them in there for a little while. If I want to give thickness to this wall, or width, I'll take another line and run it parallel to that first one. And remembering the rule that we're supposed to have any horizontal lines parallel to the horizon, I will now take the bottom of this door and do the same. Have this go parallel to that. I can now clean out a little bit of that area, and I've made an entrance into this room. And at the top of this door should be another line that's parallel to the horizon. If you've got that, we're on our way. Any diagonals can run off of that vanishing point. So I'm going to take this and find where that corner is and do the same. Okay. Thought I'd be tricky and turn my ruler over, and then I drew on the back of the ruler. But you get the idea where this is lining up. And now I've created a believable doorway. If I want to put that horizon in, I can do it again. I just don't want to confuse you, or I'll actually take it off of the wall. Okay. Now, in this scenario, you might decide to have a couch. And what I want you to think about is, again, I'm so used to drawing freehand, I don't want to use the ruler, but rather than trying to envision a couch here, it would be easier to take and think about the footprint that that couch would make if you lifted it off. I don't know if Chesterfield's the word I should be using in this country, but if it means the same thing, go with me, okay? If I take this line and bring it to the vanishing point, I'm now creating a believable footprint. Think of when you lift the bed or couch or whatever this is going to be off of the floor, that everything else may have had, it would leave a shadow is basically what I'm asking. And up the wall, we already know has to be parallel or perpendicular, to the horizon. And I'll just draw the back of this Chesterfield. Okay? And I don't know how tall it's going to be, but this side of it will also need some height to it. Again, trying to keep it perpendicular.